Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. I'm changing the flavor today a little bit. I actually have my dear friend, Commissioner in DeKalb County, which is in the state of Georgia, Ted Terry, former mayor of Clarkston, Georgia, a true progressive. We've been friends for many years. I always endorse his campaign, no matter who he's running against. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but guess what? He always wins, so what? Ted, Commissioner Ted Terry, good day, welcome.
Hey, welcome, thank you, Dr. Ritchie.
You know, you never call me Dr. Ritchie. You always call me Rashad. It felt strange, didn't it? Didn't it? Tell the truth.
No, you earned it. You earned it.
Man, I appreciate your friendship over the years. Not only you as a public servant who believes in progressive policies to create solutions. We're gonna go over some of those progressive policies and one of your latest policies that actually creates an answer to what has been happening nationally and things we've covered on Indisputable, all right? You are that guy, but also you've lectured my college classes. You are a big hit with the students, all of that good stuff, man. So we appreciate your service. So Commissioner, you were the first mayor, the first city in the state of Georgia to successfully decriminalize marijuana. You then increased the minimum wage for all city workers to $15 an hour. You took your police officers out of their cars and put them on feet and bicycles. You made voting a national, well, a city holiday on election day. All right, tell us about these progressive policies, how you got them implemented, and what was the pushback typically from those around you?
That's right. Thanks, Rashad. And absolutely. I mean, I grew up as an organizer, and so for most of my political career, I've been on the outside looking in. And so, a big part of my philosophy is, when you elect progressives or elect organizers to office, our call to action is present and it's urgent, because a lot of us, I think, who may have experience in whether it's protest movements, advocacy movements, educational awareness, just grassroots political work. There's urgency out there. People tell us every day that they are struggling, that they need help, that they need answers, and the people in power sometimes don't have that same urgency. So when I became mayor back in 2013, or elected in 2013, started in 2014, I was 30 years old. I was the youngest mayor in Clarkston's history and definitely the youngest mayor in Georgia at the time. Although I'm proud to say other younger mayors have been elected since then. I also have gotten older, so that also counts against me. But I will say that Clarkston, being in DeKalb County, East Metro Atlanta, is a pretty Democratic county. It's a town that's known as the most ethnically diverse square mile in America. So we have aspects of our community that are, pro-immigration, pro-welcoming refugees, as well as the fact that like Bernie Sanders did really well in our town. Mm-hmm. So I was a Bernie Sanders delegate. A lot of the things that he ran on were things that inspired me. And so when I didn't see federal or state action happening on marijuana possession and decriminalization, or election day as a holiday, or raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which at the time, back in 2016 when we did this, it was considered sort of, the standard. But cost of living has gone up, and we probably need a minimum wage increase beyond that now. But that when you get to that place where you're the new guy, the new gal, the new person on the block, and you're challenging the status quo, there will always be pushback. Always, always, always. Yep. Even if it's from fellow Democrats, which happens.
Yep, that's right. You and I have been on panels and talked about the decriminalization of marijuana. And there was one particular panel for the city of South Fulton when they were discussing how can they move to a place to decriminalize. Now after you did it, over 20 cities have done it or taken measures that basically did it in a de facto way, including the city of Atlanta. So I would never forget, man. I was a second semester college professor. This was back in 2016. I'm a second semester college professor. And there's this cat, right? Good brother. Came from my old neighborhood. So obviously I have a bias in his favor. I'm rooting for him because I know what he had to get through just to get into that college class. We get about 4 weeks into the semester, financial aid sends him a paper from the financial aid department saying that federal financial aid will not cover his classes. He sends me the email. He says, Dr. Richey, I don't understand this. I said, let me make some phone calls. So I started making phone calls, right? And I didn't know about the rule. And the rule was, and still is actually, if you have any drug conviction, even if it's minor, you can be denied federal aid for the rest of your natural life. See, that doesn't fit the penalty. And in his scenario, Commissioner, he was in the car, 4 people in the car. There was a nickel bag of marijuana. Nobody wanted to take responsibility. All of them got charged. And the prosecutor said, okay, everybody can take a diversion program. He said, yes, diversion, no problem. But it counted as a technical conviction because it was outside of the city ordinance rule and it was an actual misdemeanor. What you did is you made it an ordinance issue where someone would have to pay a fine if it was prosecuted. Is that basically the sentiment of it?
That's right, exactly. Because a lot of municipalities generate revenues from those arrests, but it shows up on your record, through that county court system. And so the goal here is to keep it sort of as an administrative fine, basically akin to a traffic ticket. But then also the fact that even cities that were kind of de facto decriminalization, they were charging $1,000 tickets, which is a lot of money for a lot of people. And so we made ours a $70 fine. I think I was going for just no fine, right? But we had to compromise. And so that's the idea: is the war on drugs has failed, and because state law preempts local control in the matter, this was literally the only thing we could do in terms of reform. And so, but I think it has made a difference across the 20 plus jurisdictions. I think it's almost covering 1 million people in Georgia at this point. So that's a step in the right direction, but we need to get it to change the state and federal level too.
You have a lot of progressives who are watching us right now. They're going to watch when we repost it on social media, YouTube. 2 things that happened to you during that time. One, the governor of Georgia came out against you. The governor of Georgia said you did not have the legal authority to do what you did. And you said, I'm going to do it anyway, test me. And guess what? You were right, the governor was wrong. But if you would have been frightened by the governor saying you did not have the legal authority, guess what? Not only would Clarkston not have the law, but the 20 plus other cities never would have done it either, because the governor said you did not have the right nor the legal authority to do it. Number 2, the other part that was against you was that everybody, the naysayers were saying, everybody's going to go to Clarkston to smoke marijuana. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, if they want to, that's fine. I don't care.
Right. And that's the perfect response to that. Okay, cool, no problem. We'll get a bunch of $70 tickets. What's the issue? And some people are willing to say, listen, I'm going to pay $70 to be open and free in a space where I can be protected, safe. I don't have to worry about police harassment, etc. You led that effort, man, and it has blessed the state of Georgia totally. Let's talk about your latest policy about gun safety. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the Oxford High School shooting in Michigan just a couple of weeks ago, I think, underscored the fact that there are a lot of holes in our gun control laws, as we all know. But in this particular scenario, it was a minor who gained access to their parents' handgun that was stored in the nightstand. So the basic evidence-based policymaking that other states and other jurisdictions that can, adopt some of these safe storage ordinances is that you see a reduction in school shootings, a reduction in accidental deaths, from young people, and you also see violent crime go down because a part of the safe storage is also trying to, keep guns out of the hands of criminals. So our ordinance simply says that it's the law in DeKalb County to safely secure your firearm if you believe that a minor or an unauthorized person could gain access to it. And so if you don't follow it, it's a $500 fine. But it's not meant to be a punitive measure. It's in the idea of legislate then educate, much like seatbelt laws. Dr. Richey, we know that it is against the law to not buckle up a minor when they're in the car. And that same philosophy needs to take place when you are in a home or have children visiting, that there is not a way for them to get access to it. And we see it every year. We had it over Thanksgiving, a 5-year-old family in South Fulton County. Last year, a family, another 5-year-old in DeKalb County, Lithonia, Georgia, killed because they got access to a gun, were playing with it, it went off, and they killed or injured. And you see this over and over again. And they're preventable tragedies. And I'm also glad to say the technology for safe storage has gotten a whole lot better. Just like you can unlock your phone with your face print or your thumbprint, these technologies exist to where if anyone is concerned that their gun might be locked away, in the middle of a home invasion, there is technology out there that that makes it have quicker access. And so I think we're at a point now where the common sense says that we need to do all we can to prevent these unnecessary deaths.
When you talk about evidence-based policies, let me remind everyone that virtually 100% all jurisdictions that have some kind of rule like this that says there's a penalty if you do not safely lock away your weapons, for jurisdictions that enforce the rule that's already on the books, right? Your simple gross negligence rules, they show declines of accidental deaths across the board. The cause and effect relationship, the data is there, 100%. Let me ask you about the pushback, because obviously you're going to get pushback. Have you received pushback from Democrats yet?
No, not from Democrats yet. Okay. Although I think there's a general aversion to being sued in government. So the county attorneys and the lawyers are involved. They tend to be kind of conservative, and yeah, I think they're expecting some gun rights movement. We have a lot in Georgia that are very far right, that they might challenge us. Federal and state challenges. So
yeah. You also have the right to life and liberty. And this is what legislation like this aims to do. Anything else on the agenda? 2022 coming around. We're going to have a lot in the electoral space to talk about. But you got any plans for 2022?
Yeah, I'm continuing to work on my three sort of pillars of my commission campaign. That's environmental resilience. So we are looking at 100% clean energy and clean transportation commitment to align with what is coming out of the most recent climate accords. So matching our local commitment to the federal and international commitments. Working on housing access, affordable housing, housing reform, more accessibility, addressing systems of racism that exist in the housing market that have existed for 100+ years. Those are things that I've got agendas on in DeKalb. And then we're doing justice reform, whether it's criminal or police reform. And I know you heard about the police shooting in DeKalb County earlier this year. That is currently under investigation, but it was a mental health issue. And so we have got to do more to address mental health training and mental health support within our 911 system. And so we're working with the family of the gentleman who was killed in that really a preventable tragedy, to create a mental health call system where police officers can clearly know that that individuals involved might be having a mental health issue, or there might be some family connection. Anything that we can do to close that information gap. So when law enforcement are responding to a 911 call, they have as much information as possible. And if we know there's a mental health issue, we bring to bear our crisis response unit, which, by the way, DeKalb County is one of the first in Georgia to have a co-responder program over 20 years ago. Actually, it was Commissioner Larry Johnson who pushed it way back then. So we're expanding that unit to include 4 more crisis co-responder units, and we're adding more layers to it so we can be able to respond to things that sometimes not everyone's most well equipped to respond to.
One thing I really appreciate about your leadership, Ted, you and I have been friends for 15 years. You've always been the same guy. And when you would run for office, you ran on a very progressive platform. And then you got in office, and all of a sudden the headline says, you're pushing it, and you did it. You got it passed, right? And then another progressive policy. Ted Terry's trying to do what? Yep, pushing it, and you got it passed. You did not go in with the mindset, I have to compromise and be like everybody else. You literally change the trajectory of the state of Georgia through your leadership from Clarkston and beyond. So for those who are watching this and they would like to support strong progressive leadership, how can they follow you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website's commissionertedterry.com, and anyone who obviously lives in DeKalb County would love to work with you on these reforms. And then we're working with local elected leaders across the country on some of these progressive reforms, especially on the most recent gun storage legislation with Everytown and Moms Demand Action. And so anyone who thinks that their local mayor, city council, county commissioner should be implementing these policies, find out if they have those safe, secure ordinances in place, and if they don't, have them reach out to me. We'll get them connected with the draft ordinance and some of the facts and the figures and the evidence that you pointed out. There's so much evidence, Dr. Ritchie, that says this is a smart policy. Responsible gun owners support it. Responsible gun owners do it. So this is something that should be bipartisan and non-controversial.
Very well said. Commissioner Ted Terry, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you.
All right.